What is up, tubers? Tio here, Simplistic Fishing, coming back at you tonight to take a look at Beaver Lake. This is Beaver Lake in Arkansas, if you're wondering. I don't know, there's a lot of different Beaver Lakes out there, but Beaver Lake in Arkansas, this one took us quite a while to break down, and as you know, we had quite a few people asking us to get this one done. So tonight, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually go through the breakdown with you on Google Earth. But remember, you can always go out and download the Simplistic Fishing mobile app. You can get Beaver Lake for literally $10 for 30 days access, or you can get the entire region for $20 that gives you all of these breakdowns for that entire region. So you can definitely go check that out. Or the last option, if you want to look at the digital files or you want to get the files for your graphs, we also have those out on our website, simplisticfishing.com. So go check those out as well. But let's just talk about some cool stuff about this lake and maybe help some of you guys out that maybe don't want a card and just want a couple pointers as far as what we found out on Beaver Lake. So to start with, we really broke it down into three different sections, right? We've got the north section. So this is going to be anything pretty much from this big bend that you see right here, anything from there north. So all the way up into the northwest. Then we've got the midsection, which is basically going to be that same area, right where that bend is, all the way back here to Highway 12, which is where it will stop. So that covers that whole midsection in there. And then the last section is going to be, the south section, which is going to be anything Highway 12 or south, which covers this entire area. So pretty big breakdown, lots and lots of shoreline, lots and lots of stuff to take a look at. So let's just start right here on the south region, and let's talk about some of the cool stuff that we found here and some of the areas on Beaver Lake that you should really probably pay some attention to, just based on what we found, based on the breakdown, that are probably going to be pretty interesting to you. And first off, I want to start with is the attractors. There are a lot of fish attractors out on Beaver Lake. You can see here, if I go down to Highway 412, we've got a ton of fish attractors right here in this area. We've also got a few just kind of as you go up the river. And then as you come in here, just random fish attractors. And we've got them all throughout this whole area, a whole bunch right in here. This is probably going to be a pretty good area. I like the fact you got all these fish attractors here. And then also if you go and you look at the channels and ditches and you turn those on, notice that little green line that came up. So you've got some pretty good stuff back here. You've probably got a pretty good flat back here. You've got a nice little creek channel that's coming up and swinging up against the bank line several times. You've got lots of fish attractors in this area. So really like this area, but I know we're not talking about areas specifically. We're just kind of talking about what we found, but look at all these fish attractors. So definitely, if I'm fishing Beaver Lake, I'm probably going to take a look at some of these attractors. There's just so many of them. There's bound to be one of them that holds pretty good fish. And for those of you guys that I've never caught anything off a community fish attractor, you're crazy. They definitely have fish there. You're not going to catch fish on every one of them, but you can find a pattern on those fish attractors at some point in time of the year for sure. They're definitely good places to find fish. All right, so next up we've got the channels and ditches, which we talked about. But you can see here, these are all just these tracks that you see. And the main thing here when you're looking at these is you really want to look at if you're looking at the tracks like those green lines, you really want to look and see, does that ever come up and swing against the bank line? And if it does, wherever it goes up and touches that bank line, that's going to be a primo spot to go take a look at. So if you look at this right here, you've kind of got this little creek channel coming here, and it looks like let's go back and take a look at a different image because this one's a little bit different. We've got multiple images here, but let's say that it's right here, right? Or actually, let's just go back to 2025, right here. So you know that creek channel comes here. It looks like it changes every once in a while. The last time we marked it, it went here, and now it's up here. But as it comes down here and goes through here, you definitely want to look here. And then also, as you're out there fishing, look on the bank line for anything that looks like a harder spot. And if you see that harder spot on that bank line, that means you've got a creek channel swing there. Something with the current or something is moving all of the dirt off and everything and actually giving you a nice, good hard spot. So right in here, places like that, if you're really focused on these creek channels, anywhere where those creek channels go up and touch or a curve, with a couple things, if they go up and touch the bank line, or if you see a big bend, definitely fish around those big bends as well. They can be productive too. And then a lot of times when you have your creek channels that come back there, those are also going to be your flats, right? Your flats for the springtime and things like that. So always a good place to look if you have a huge lake like this and you're like, man, I'm just overwhelmed. on where to go, a great place to go is just go follow where all the creek channels are. Wherever the creek channels are, there's going to be food there, there's going to be bait fish there, and that's typically going to be a higher percentage area to find fish if you're close to those creek channels. All right, let's talk about all the cover and structure that's out here as well. Quite a bit of stuff. You know, you've got boulders, you've got brush and laydowns. We've marked them all. A couple of things that I would point out would be on these hard spots. You know, one thing that I noticed when we're looking at the hard spots in the lake, I'm just going to pick out a couple here. Let's just go with like 6 or 7 here, or maybe 10, however many I've selected. But the thing about these hard spots is a lot of times you want to look at the transition areas away from these hard spots. So actually this one's not a good one. That one's a little bit better. Let me see if I can get a better image. I had a really good one earlier I was going to show you where you can really see the transition lines. And so when you're fishing these hard spots, this is a pretty good one, kind of a bad image because we're not looking at a good image here. But when we're fishing these hard spots, a lot of times, if you're not just having success around the hard spot itself, if they're not up on the hard spot, go to where it transitions. So even here, you've got this hard spot here. The transition's right here, right? Your transition for this one, you may have one back there. I can't really see it, but you can definitely see one right here. See where these transition? It goes from the bluff wall, it transitions to basically dirt. So basically, if you just drew a line out here, and you drew a line out there, a lot of times you can find them right on that line. So right on that transition between one or the other. So if you go out here and you were to mark all the hard spots like we have, you're going to be able to see those hard spots, and then more than likely, if we were able to see it, you know, visually see it and say, hey, that looks like a hard spot, then that means there was probably something soft around it that made it stand out, which means you've got some transition areas all around these hard spots. Now, the hard spots themselves can be very productive areas. You go out there, you throw Carolina rigs, wobbleheads, crankbaits, stuff like that on those hard spots. They can definitely be productive, but don't forget, especially on these bigger, deeper lakes, those transition lines and those transition areas can be really good areas to find fish. All right, so let's take off this covered structure, kind of showed you what was all out there. And now let's go in and look at another thing, and that's foundations. Now on this side, not too many. There's 3 or 4. You can see a couple different house foundations. These can be productive as well, right? It changes the contour, not really changes the contour, but it changes the way that the bottom is, right? So they're used to all this rock pretty much everywhere, all over the place. And all of a sudden you come to this foundation, it's providing shade, it's providing areas for them to be able to attack bait fish, things like that. And of course it's a hard spot, so that helps out as well. So these foundations can be key areas to go find fish. And really, we either found the foundations by either coming out here and pulling the water down and seeing the foundation when the water was down, or we went out, which you'll see here in a minute, we talk about the offshore stuff, we used Navionics mapping to actually go out and find some of this offshore stuff. So these foundations, don't leave them out. They can be really, really good spots. Now the offshore stuff, we can't really show too much on Google Earth, but what we've done is we've gone out and we've used the contour maps and we've marked all the high percentage areas from an offshore standpoint. So that's going to be your ledges, your humps, your points, anywhere we see breaks, things like that. Any of the key areas that you want to focus on from an offshore standpoint, we've marked a lot of those high. I'm not going to say all of them because there's a ton of them out there, but we marked a lot of the high percentage ones. Any of the ones that looked obvious to us, we went ahead and marked for you. So you'll have those out there. So if you take those offshore spots and you import them into your graph, when you do that, this icon will be there, and then you'll have your contour mapping below it, and you'll see exactly why we mark these as offshore hotspots. All right, let's keep going. We've also got the ramps in this area, right? So we've got all these ramps that are here. We've got roads and bridges. Now what we did here is I didn't mark every single road and bridge that was underwater, but I did mark any of them that were going to be key or should be areas that you could fish around. Like some of them are in like such deep water, it's not going to matter, but a lot of these were actually in fishable water. So I've marked a lot of these, and these can be really, really key areas to find fish. So these underwater bridges and culverts, you got a couple there, you got a few here, you got a couple here in this area as well. You can see they just kind of go up and around. If you get on the pattern of those bridges and culverts, you are going to be in love with what we've got here, because you can just filter it out on the app. It'll show you exactly where they are, or, you know, obviously if you put this into your graph, you know exactly where all those are too. But those are key areas to find fish as well. And then last but not least, which you have a lot of it, is all the different areas of rock. So anywhere where we saw some significant amounts of rock, or areas where looked like, would be good prime areas to fish around from a rocky standpoint, we've marked all of those. That's going to be a lot of your crankbaiting and stuff like that, stuff that you guys are used to out on that lake. All right, so that is the south area. We're basically going to do the same thing here. We're going to go to the mid area, right? And up in here, this is the up over Highway 12. Again, same type thing. We've got a lot of fish attractors. So a ton of fish attractors out in this area as well. I mean, amazing how many fish attractors the state puts out there for you. Just really, really cool stuff. And you can see there are a ton of them. So you can go hit any of these, and that's going to really up your chances on catching some fish. And there are a lot of them out there. Then you've also got the bridges and the culverts and the roads like we talked about before too. You've got a few of those out here, not a ton. There's a couple roads up here, so if you could find those road beds, fish around those road beds, again, crankbaiting, Texas rigging, anything you can drag on the bottom or bump along the bottom like a wobblehead, those are going to be good as well. And depending on how deep those bridges are, you may have to go, result over to like a spoon or something like that, where you're not necessarily fishing the bottom, but you're fishing more mid water column, stuff like that. Maybe not as deep, or maybe you use the forward facing sonar. You're out there with the minnow, just pinging them, picking them off those bridges. So some pretty cool stuff. You've got your channels and ditches here as well. So not too many in this section, but there's a few. There's a pretty good channel back in here. You could probably spend some time fishing around and see what you could find. There's a couple of small ones here, and there's a few ditches and things to take a look at too. There's another good channel that's up there as well. Then we're going to move over, look at the cover and the structure. Again, lots of trees, debris. There's a lot of flats in here as well. There's a lot of trees for sure. So if you're, if the pattern's on for trees, you're in luck. You could come here and just go out. Let's say you were in the app, you could go out and just say, hey, show me the trees. But if you were here, you wanted to see where all the trees were, you could just go select them. And then that would show you where all the trees are. So let's say like we want to look up at this area. You can't really see much here with this image, but if I move this back, you'll start to see them. You can see all these different clumps of trees. Now there's a lot of trees in this section, and I think there's even more. I believe, I can't remember how many, which section had more, but there's a lot in here. You can see all the different trees that are up in here. So if you're on a pattern where you're really starting to find that you're finding them on the trees, and trees close to points, or trees in the back close to flats, whatever it is, you've got it all marked here and you can see it. So again, something I would pay attention to if I was out here fishing the lake, I would definitely take a look at these underwater trees and see if I could start up some kind of pattern by just fishing those trees. Then we're going to move over. We're going to talk about foundations. Not too many on the midsection. There's a couple back in here you can see, but again, key areas to find fish. Those can be really sneaky and really awesome areas to find fish. We got all the offshore stuff, so I won't spend too much time on that because we can't really tell the offshore stuff, so we can't see the contours on Google Earth, but just kind of show you what's out there. Got a lot of different offshore spots out there to take a look at for sure. And then we'll finish it up with the ramps and the rock. So there's your ramps, and there is all the different types of rock. Now that rock can definitely be, a go-to thing. If they're on the rock, you're definitely gonna know where all that rocky spot is. All those rocky spots are all those areas that you'll want to go fish. And then let's go ahead and finish up here. Now let's go out to the north section, and that'll finish up our breakdown here for Beaver Lake. We're up here in the north section. This is basically anything past that bend. I can't remember what that bend is called, but we'll say anything past Rocky Branch Marina or anything east of Rocky Branch Marina. That's going to be this breakdown. Same type thing, right? We've got the attractors. So again, lots of attractors. Definitely something you want to go take a look at. You've got a lot back in this area, several in there, several up around this island as well. You've got several back in there too. So lots of that. Lots of bridges and culverts. Actually, not too many. I said lots, and it's two different road beds that we were able to find in there. So go take a look at those for sure. Follow those around, see what you can find. There's your channels and ditches. Lots of ditches, not too many channels, but definitely a lot of ditches in there. Your cover and structure, same type thing. Notice in this area too, you've got a lot of trees in this area. So again, if you're looking at fishing flooded trees, you've got a pretty good idea of where most of that stuff is. You've got those hard spots that we talked about. You've got some saddles too that you could take a look at. So several different things that you could go and just, play around with, see what you can find. Not too many foundations in this one. Looks like we just got one little foundation there on the north side. I thought we had more than that. Oh, we do. It's because it's not adjusting it right. So let's click it. When I double click it, crazy things happen. It's like a Google Earth bug, but check out all these foundations that are out here. Thought there were several more. And I think if we go back to those roads and bridges that I said there weren't very many, now all of a sudden there's a bunch more that show up. So Google Earth's kind of weird. It only shows the icons when you import them in, so sometimes it gets a little funky. We'll skip the offshore stuff, but again, lots of different offshore stuff in there, right? We can't talk about that because we can't see the contours right now. And then we've got the ramps that are all out there, and then finally we'll finish it up with the different rocky areas that are here as well. But if I'm fishing this north side, I'm probably gonna be focused on those flooded trees, right? Those fish attractors and those bridges and culverts. They look like the simplest things to go find fish at and be able to get on fish really, really quick. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. We're kind of taking a different approach to how we're doing these breakdowns, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Those of you fishing Beaver Creek, or fishing Beaver Lake, don't forget, go out, check out our website, simplisticfishing.com, or download our app, Simplistic Fishing, and you can get the Beaver Lake breakdown and all the tools that you have with our app right there in the palm of your hand. You can get it for $9.99 for 30 days access, or you can get a subscription for $19.99 a month that will give you access to all the lakes that we've done in your region. So guys, appreciate the time, and I hope you catch your PB. Take it easy.